for those of you that don't know, that means it's time for my meds. 7 o'clock punctually. Yep. Steve's already pointed out to me
I mean,
that I'm old, falling apart. I'm embracing it, guys. I don't care. I'm just embracing it.
well, like I tell a lot of people, I said I only pick on those I really like. If I'm distant and just very short and curt with you, then you got to worry.
That's right.
If I'm too polite, then you got to worry.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see who all we got up in here tonight. What's up, Jack, Sharon? Good to see y'all. Victor, I think I'm doing better. My wife says that I look better and I've got my spirits a little bit better than they were. And she claims my mobility has improved. I'm still handicapped, but that's all I can do for now. The pain has gotten better since the surgery. I've still got some residual nerve pain in that leg, but they're telling me that that may take 6 weeks for that to go away completely. But it's not like it was. It's not that constant unbearable pain. So it's just a little short burst now, which I can deal with a lot better. What's up, Mark? Robert Lowe, Rob Fight, Joe Brannon, and Super Duty, and not a name I'm familiar with, Nipa Javar. I ain't gonna try to. I ain't gonna try to say that one. But yeah, and people's making fun of me, guys. But this is my new best friend out here in the shop
Yeah.
because I can roll my chair to where I need to go, and I can use this thing to pick up stuff. You do not realize how many times you bend over and stand up in a day until you can't bend over. So my wife bought me this while she was out, and it's pretty handy. I can pick up all kinds of stuff with it. And I was able today, Steve, to get a piece of a video together on
Nice.
the S1. Uh, not one of my better productions because I had to do it all sitting down. But I think it hit the high points, and I think people will well, at least want to see it, see where I stand as far as my opinion on the machine. So look for that to be coming out in the morning. And other than that, guys, I'm still here, one day at a time.
Well, it's good to see you out in the shop, and I know I'm looking forward to your video. I've been watching a few other people's videos on the S1 to kind of try to see what all the hype is about. I did watch the live stream their launch the other night too, which with Xtool it's always a little bit of fun, a little bit of chaos, and a lot of marketing. But it was kind of interesting some of the things they were showing with like the 2 point positioning and the curved positioning using that probe. That I kind of see that being interesting for certain projects. But yeah, I didn't get as much done in the shop this week. I did have to take well, it was an overnight road trip for work, so that kind of interrupted me, and had to pack for it the night before too. So I kind of feel like half my week was disrupted by that. It was only 100 miles away, but it sure felt like it took up like 2.5, 3 days of my time. But
Yeah.
I've been working on another review, and this one's kind of taking it a step back. It's a 10-watt atom stack, but they bundle it with that R1 Chuck rotary, and kind of wanted to take a look back and see, is a 10-watt laser still relevant these days, with 20 kind of being the standard, and now the 30s, 40s, and some places hinting at possibly 50-ish watt diodes coming out. Wanted to kind of see what a very entry level laser feels like, fresh and new. So I'll have that coming out in the next few days, along with some more project stuff, some more ideas I have spinning through my head. But it's starting to get cold up here, so I'm gonna have to really button things down with winter coming. So Brian's just poking that one, huh?
he
Yeah,
said he doesn't have one, Brian. He got the F one. He
yeah.
didn't
I
get
don't.
the S one. He got the F one.
I didn't get the S1. Although I don't know, maybe I should have taken a couple days off work and made a quick road trip down to your place, since you've been kind of tied up. I could have at least helped you with yours, or just snuck out there.
Oh
Clack's
yeah.
taking a nap. I'll do a quick video myself with using
Hey,
his laser.
I thought about getting Klein to come over and do the video for the S1 because I didn't know if I'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of told X Tool that I'd have the video out, after their launch. But man, the days before their launch and leading up to, I just couldn't. I mean, I couldn't I couldn't come out here. I couldn't. None of my movements worked like they were supposed to. I was too tired and sore, and my back feels like I got hit by a truck. So I sent them an email and I'm like, look guys, y'all caught me at a bad time. I'm gonna get it out when I can, but it may be a few days. And they seemed like they were good with that. So I wound
Yeah.
up, like I said, I'm gonna do more videos with it because I think this is a machine with all the different functions that there's some training that needs to be done for folks before they decide on what machine they want. Because, like I said, if you're wanting to do sheet goods, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch material, and the bed dimensions is suitable for what you're doing, it's a good machine. I like it. It's well built. I did find out today. I put a piece of 3/4 inch pine in there, gonna engrave on it, and you can't do that unless you take the honeycomb out because it hits
Oh,
the
yep.
z-axis.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take the honeycomb out because I've got my honeycomb. I made me some little brackets to hold the honeycomb still because if not, it moves around inside there. And I've got my honeycomb screwed down with those little brackets so that I can use it for squaring up, items. There's cat hair flying around everywhere in here.
Yeah, I
But
think
but yeah, I mean it works well, and But like I said, the honeycomb when I got it, this honeycomb would just slide, like it would move
mhm.
just randomly. But I made these little brackets over here and one over here, 3D printed them and put them in there. And my plan is to kind of incorporate off of that and kind of make myself like a jig basically inside the workspace using the honeycomb. So, but it's like I said, it's not a bad built machine. Yeah. Now, is it going to replace my big enclosure over here? No, I can't put a stove cover in that thing. I can't put an ammo can in there and engrave it, not without the bottom part. So
Well,
I mean, that does have its limitations.
and it's they've got the riser block on there, and I think if I recall right, without the honeycomb, don't you have like 1.25 inches of kind of distance that it can focus between?
Yeah, yeah. If you take
Or is
the honeycomb out, it's like 1 7/8 inches, I think it is, from
Oh,
the
okay.
bottom of the machine to the bottom of that beam that runs across there. It's like 1 7/8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
You could make your own risers if you wanted, and
Mm-hmm.
just set the machine on it. But there again, that's a lot of trouble. You bought a fully enclosed machine that you didn't have to build nothing for. Now you're building stuff for it.
Well, yeah, and
So
they said they can't sell that riser in Europe because it takes away its Class 1 rating, um, because it now makes it open somewhat on the bottom, or maybe that was the conveyor. One or the other.
it's probably the conveyor.
It's probably the conveyor, yeah. So there's certain things that because of the way they were trying to sell it as like a Class 1 versus a Class 4 is all enclosed, that they weren't allowed to still provide that. So
Yeah.
definitely a trade-off, like you say, that if you want it for the safety and the enclosed part, that you're a bit limited there. But some flexibility with some of those things. I'm not 100% sold on both the P2 and the S1. They have the conveyor system, and I feel like you as long as you've got a very flexible space, that works. But you got to have just as much room in front of and behind it for whatever size
Yeah.
object it is you're engraving. So now you got to be able to move it practically to the center of your shop, which most people aren't going to have that size laser sitting in the center of the shop. It's going to be against a wall or in a corner
Yeah.
near exhaust stuff and whatnot. So, but
Yeah, Brian, there is a riser kit that they sell. It's basically a bottom half of this thing, and there's some screws that hold the little crumb tray in place. You take those screws out, pop that crumb tray out, and you can all see all the way through it. And I'm assuming screws go back in to connect it to the base. I haven't seen the base, but that's what it looks like to me. Like I said, if you were in a pinch and you just wanted to take the crumb tray out, lift it up, and put blocks under it, you could, I guess, but then you're getting away from the whole fully enclosed thing, in my opinion. But as far as the electronics and the way it works and smoothness and all that, I mean, they did a jam up job. It is belt driven, but the belts are very meaty. I mean, these are like 1/2 inch wide instead of 1/4 inch wide belts that are in there. It does. The fan works well as long as you're not using more than the provided hose to push your exhaust out. I had to run like a 20-foot exhaust hose over to the door because I don't have anywhere to put it. And when I did that, it was causing the fumes to kind of back up, and I was getting a little seepage out from under the front. So to remedy that, I added a 4-inch fan on the other end, pulling, and it's working great now. It actually has a little bit of positive pressure on the air inlets now, as opposed to having smoke coming out of them. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna ventilate it a long way, that one little fan, you're gonna need a secondary fan just to help
Well,
get it out of there.
and unfortunately, you can't necessarily like remove that fan without causing errors on the machine, right? Um,
Probably not. I wouldn't want to remove it, but like I said, I just put one at the other end of the hose
right.
to
But
kind of create some suction there.
due to basically the fluid dynamics of the air, if you put too powerful a fan in front of it, it's going to be choked down because it can't move air any faster than that rear one can. So it's just it limits you. Yeah, is all I'm
Yeah.
saying. So if you've
Yeah,
got an
it like I
existing
said, it was
system that
enough.
can
It
pull
was
it,
enough of a boost. It was enough of a boost that it's working now.
yeah,
It was struggling, which I went from the 3-inch tube that comes with it to a 6-inch tube for 20 feet. So a little bit of change in the volume of air going through there as well. But
sure.
it got it to quit smoking me out in here, so that's good. Brian, no, I haven't put them on Etsy. I want to say I'm still prototyping and testing them to make sure. Eventually, I'm sure I will. But it's just a little file. Like I said, basically it's a bracket that goes over the honeycomb and snaps down, and you put a screw through it into the base, and it holds it in place. So I just made them for myself. That's what most of my stuff starts out that way.
Yep.
Well, Brian,
So
send one over and I'll try it out, fella. If you can get them to send me one, Brian, I'll try it. But
yeah, I think they're coming out now with their 30-watt version. So they started out with their Mark One was I think a 10, and then they had their 20, and now they've got their 30 coming out. So they're continue to develop and improve their offerings as well. And that's a nice thing to see. There's always kind of new. You probably get them as well. These new brands coming out, and you just never know with some of these newer companies. But after you see a company develop one or two lasers and they're still doing well and they're innovative, and it's nice to see that.
yeah. Well, look at there, everybody. Klein is in the room. Brian, there you go, bro. I knew you would be happy when I saw him in here. So there he is right there, Brian. But yeah, the Rolly looks interesting to me. I'm gonna lie. I think they are really pushing into trying to build a machine based on what the people that want the machine want more so than what's politically or safety wise or whatever. I think they're actually doing a good job of balancing user friendliness with safety features,
Mm-hmm.
and they make a really cool looking machine too.
Yeah, like Brian mentioned and Sharon saying, they have the new switchable head, so a 10 and 20 watt, which is interesting. Um, that would only matter to you if you're going for a smaller spot size. So you're wanting that extra detail. And I think it was just a little bit ago while we were on our S1 rant, Clang was saying 10 watts are still the best for photo engraving. And that's true. You can get a finer spot point, and that's going to help you add detail to it. But I'd be curious. I'd like to test one of those, kind of checking their kerf and their resolution, switching between them, because anytime you got a physical switch, you got to remember, which way is it switched. It adds to your, pre-job checklist is all. So.
Yeah. Super Duty's wanting to know any thoughts on Windows 11 versus Windows 10. In my opinion, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's just some slight cosmetic adjustments that I can see.
In the realm of workshop controlling lasers and CNCs with most modern software, you're probably not going to notice a big difference. between the two, other than the layout of the UI is slightly different for your start menu and such like that. The biggest thing would be is that if you're hopefully you're not running Windows 7 anymore, because that just lost all support as far as there's no more security updates coming out for that as of this past week. So that would be the thing, is eventually Windows 10 is going to lose its support, but that we're talking a few years down the road. But between the two, you're not gonna really notice the difference.
Yeah, I think this machine's running Windows 10 maybe, and my laptop in there runs Windows 11, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. Yeah, this one's running 10 Pro, so and then my laptop runs Windows 11. So something about the processors, and on this one is an older processor. It wasn't
Yeah,
built to be supported by Windows 11.
Windows 11 takes advantage and requires some features on newer processors. So if you've got a machine that's about a year and a half old or so, it probably isn't compatible. But Windows 10 is still perfectly fine. So
Yeah. ET, I'm gonna be honest with you. That is not a bad little machine for doing events. I haven't got to do much more videos with it because of the whole hospital trip and all that. But it is a very interesting, smaller machine. The only real negative I have to say about it is the work area is pretty small, so you're not going to be cutting out anything huge on it. But you could do an ammo can in it because it goes up and down. You could do taller pieces of wood in it. So I mean, there it has its advantages as well, and it does have the camera, and the camera does a pretty good job with combined with the software and the other hardware in the machine. So I'm going to try to do some more videos with it too. I'm not going to be able to go back to work for a few weeks, so as long as I can maintain this level of mobility, even though I have to ride around in my little chair and use my little pinchers here to pick stuff up, as long as I can continue to have this much mobility, I'll try to get some content turned out for you guys. I just have to be really, really careful not to trip and fall or anything like that, because I do not want to have to start over with this.
yeah, yeah.
Greg's saying that the Rolly needs an extension kit. That would definitely be something if they did that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's always nice to be able to offer that, but especially as you get into these more fully enclosed lasers, that's more than just rails, right?
Hmm.
It's a bit more of a upgrade for them, I'm sure. So, but I agree. I'm still in that. Hey, give me 36 inches by about 24. You can give, and in a wide format, not the deep. Then I'd be super happy at that.
Yeah.
So
Bob, don't make me lie. I'd have to go look. It's like 16 inches by 26 inches, I think it is. For the X Tool
the S1.
S1. Yeah, but now I will tell you, you cannot cut over 3/4 of an inch material with the honeycomb in there because it'll hit. So I'm sure you can cut thicker, but realistically speaking, I don't plan on cutting anything bigger than uh, half inch most of the time anyway.
So
Let's
the
see
the
what it
the quick read on the
says.
website is the bed is 23, almost 24 by 15, but the working area is 19.6 by 12.5.
Okay, so
And
20 by 12.
uh, was there a difference? Maybe I'm thinking of everyone. Was there a difference with? Yeah, Brian just posted it. The 20-watt module gains you just a little extra in
Yeah.
the width. So
Yeah, it's not like I said. It's not a bad machine, but just like a lot of the other ones, it fits a unique purpose, and it fits that unique purpose really well. Uh, but uh, I have no doubts that this thing it'll melt through 3/4 inch pine and all that. And I may try to do some thickness cutting, but I really don't want to do it without the honeycomb in there, and I can't fit the honeycomb and a piece of 3/4 inch material in the machine, so kind of stuck on that. Da, da, da. Walter Van Ord
yeah.
would like to know, which software would you use if you had a laser and a Miller 3D printer, Fusion 360? I have to pay. Do you have suggestions?
Well, they're all generally going to need separate software. Um, and there's also there's the development software for creating the files, and then there's the actual control software in some cases, you know, when you're talking uh, now Lightburn for lasers is pretty much standard, and unless you have some specific lasers that are either partially or not compatible with it, you might have to work with their own software. But Lightburn is for 90% of the lasers out there is going to be kind of your go-to, which you could do 99% of your design work in there. There might be a couple things that it's going to, or you may be used to CAD or something yourself. As far as if you're getting into CNC router, that kind of opens it up a little bit as to, you know, what's your budget and what's the size of the device, some of those things. Now, VCarve is and VCarve Pro, depending on the size of your machine, are very nice, but you know, it's three something for the desktop size on up to about $700 for that. But it's, you know, you buy it, it's yours perpetual. You get like I think a one full version update from that before you have to pay anything after that. There are some cheaper things that allow you to just pay like $10-15 a month, and some other software. Fusion 360 obviously is a good one as far as both developing, and they have some CAM built into it to control it and such. Depending on how you're using that, it can be free on up to expensive. But then 3D printer, a lot of people get by with just the free software. You can use Cura is okay, and it's free and usually has profiles for most printers. Otherwise, you can also get the Prusa slicer that works with a lot of them, and the other one that is, I was just talking with a friend about it, and I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me. But you know, in most cases, there's
Kira?
generally
Kira?
no Cura is free. There's a paid 3D printer slicer that I'm just escaping my my mind right now. A lot of them will come with some sort of free version of the slicer. You know, even with the lasers, there's free software, but I would always try to start with those in general. Simplify 3D is that one. That thanks, Mark. That is a really good piece of software. Gives you a lot of flexibility in things like deleting specific support material and such. But you know, in a lot of cases, there's usually trials. Like Lightburn's awesome with it. They give you a full functioning trial. Use it. It's good for 30 days, and it'll completely let you use it. Others will give you a quasi trial, but they might limit certain functions to it. Always try them out, because what works for me might not work for you.
Yeah, like I said, I use Lightburn and I use Fusion 360, but I know some of the other CAD softwares that are out there do a good job too. But I started playing in Fusion 360 and just got kind of accustomed to it, and that's kind of where I've been stuck at. Haven't really looked into the other software. Appreciate you there, Verly Walter. Appreciate it, sir. Guys and girls, if you haven't already, please hit that like button down below for us. Let YouTube know you like what's going on here, other than me getting toted away by flies. But yeah, the 3D. Somebody asked about what 3D slicer I'm using. I'm using the new one from Creality. That's the one that I've started using. It's not the Creality slicer. What's the name of it? It's the newest one that they have. Hang on, let me remote into my other computer where I can see what it's called. I do my slicing on this other computer in here in the house. But it's made by Creality. It's actually was the one that they released with the KR1. And since I got the Sonic pad, Creality Print is the name of it. It's just the generic slicer that comes with the K1, and if you get the Sonic pad, it's also got support in there and profiles in there for the Sonic pad as well. So you just basically go in there and select the profile for the Ender 3 version 2 or whatever, but it's basically just called a fast Ender, and it'll load the profile. Now, I've done a lot of tweaking to mine to get it to where it prints exactly the way I want it to. I've got 2 or 3 different profiles for prototyping final products and stuff, to where that when I'm making these hinges and stuff like that, I can add a little bit of extra detail to it to make sure nothing sticks together, that kind of thing. But everything I'm running is Creality, so so far so good.
Let's see. This is a little relevant to some things you and I have been talking about. Grandpa LBM's asking, buy Amazon cutting sheets or just buy a big sheet of wood and cut it myself. Um, it depends on what you have available in your local area, um, and what tools you might happen to have to break that material down. Generally, buying a larger sheet of material is going to be less expensive because you're not paying for them to process it for you. But then it also depends on what quality you can find locally. I've got here in town, we've got, of course, Menards in the Midwest, and they've got a decent selection of construction materials. But as you get into more, what I would say, is cabinet grade or quality plywood, it starts dropping off. And then we have a Home Depot, but even Home Depots across, mine compared to one 80 miles away can be completely different in what they stock. And so, um, I've tried some of the quarter-inch stuff that they have, and it's a little hit or miss. So then, you can look to see if you have any more like actual lumber dealers in your area, hardwood dealers, or specialty places that can order in some better stuff. Again, if you can get it from them, you can usually cut it down and get it cheaper. But um, Home Depot does offer more of a craft plywood. They're in like a 10-pack, and depending on where you're at, um, it can be anywhere from $35 to $45 for that bundle. It's not the cheapest way to get it, but it already comes in, I think they're 19 by 12 sheets or something like that. So it's already processed down somewhat. So that might be an option for you if you don't have those locally. And then there's also places like, what is it, Ooch Hardwoods and Woodworker Source that offer like Baltic birch in smaller sheets shipped to you. But if you have a dealer local to you that has sheets that you can try out and test, I would go that route first because it's going to be cheaper.
Oh yeah. Oh, Brian, I hate that, man. Yeah, they started that sale with the HRP 20. They've got that. They're giving that thing away. Basically, I tell people all the time. Right now, if you're wanting to get into them, that's a really good deal because you can get it with the extensions and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, they've
So,
got the deal on that, as well as I think you can get the P10 maybe with the rotary and the extensions for the same price. So if you want to get their 10 watt, get those options, and that's a nice rotary. So it is a
heck yeah.
really good deal.
Had enough. If you once you run through the camera calibration, Lightburn will automatically orient the camera view appropriately. Once you completed the lens calibration and the workspace calibration, it should rotate it for you.
Well, they'll fix the overlay view, but not the live view. That
Oh,
stays rotated, I believe.
yeah. Well, yeah, the live view may not, but I know it'll fix the other. You see, the simplest thing is just be to rotate the camera.
Except you can't on the Comgrow one without like popping it out and making a new mount for it.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's the nice thing on the that Atom Stack Maker one is it's on a ball head. You can just swivel the camera, but that anytime you add flexibility, it makes it easier for it to
Mm-hmm.
get out of alignment as well. So
Yeah.
it's a give and take.
But yeah, Grandpa, I do a lot of my stuff is from just sheet goods from the hardware store that I break down. You can actually get some 2 by 4 foot sheets and stuff like that, of the smaller hobby materials. But it's going to depend, like Steve said, what's available at your, in your area as to what you're going to be able to find.
And and sometimes you get sticker shock on higher quality plywood, but really test out the stuff. If you find an inexpensive, like sometimes it's underlayment plywood or Luan, and in some cases it's a great quality and it works well. But if you're finding you're getting a lot of areas where it's failing to cut through, and you start wasting sheets of plywood, now you've already bumped yourself up in time and material costs to what the nicer stuff might cost for you. So
Yeah.
if if that matters to you, in a production environment or just overall cost, it's sometimes worth paying a little bit more for a more consistent product.
What's up, Minnesota Maker? How are you there, fella? Well, guys, don't forget about the Facebook page. I know most everybody in here is probably already a member, but we do have our Facebook page, Laser Engraver Community page. Uh, Tips, useful information, and just showing off your work, all in one place. And we try to police the bots and so forth, and keep all the riffraff out of there. So, if that's something that you're interested in, go over to Facebook and check out the page and hit that little join button. Make sure you answer the questions though, and the reason the questions are there is to keep robots out. It's not to make it hard on you guys. The robots don't know how to answer those questions, so it keeps them from being able to apply.
Yeah.
So, it's a matter of time before the robots get smart enough that won't work though.
Well, I was listening to something where they said, I think it was maybe Facebook or another one of the big tech companies had to turn off a couple of bots who had started to talk to themselves in their own language that they didn't understand. So they just had to, disable these AI bots and turn them off. So let's just, let's enjoy our shop robots with some of with some of the fewer features before they get too smart on us.
Yeah. Let's see. Probably not, Brian. Probably not.
I was gonna say Brian might not even need to change his name to get kicked out on some days.
Yeah, I'm surprised Brian ain't in Facebook jail. But yeah, Jack, I got some of their half-inch oak the other day down at Lowe's, and it done a pretty good job. I even used some of it on the CNC, and it worked well. Of course, with oak, you got to watch for that checking. I had a little checking on that one that I missed. It is Laser Engraving Community page. Laser Engraver Community page. That's it right there. Because I could drop a link down below here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching from my channel, I've got it down in the description. You can just click on that. If you're watching from Class channel, he makes you do a little more work, apparently.
Well, I didn't. I don't ever think about putting that in there. I don't ever think about it, man.
There you go.
It's just one of those things. Do you ever cut smalls out of your logo?
Logs.
Oh, out of your logs. Okay. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of 1/4-inch cedar up there that I used to cut a lot of my own wood that I used on projects, and I'm running low. Still got a pretty good stack over there, but cedar especially, I like to cut it 1/4 inch thick. I did a thing for a lady the other day on 1/4-inch cedar because it burns really nice. It's easy to manipulate, and I just like it on the laser.
So, people are talking about Ooch. I don't know how you say that. They do have a really nice wood and so far good service. I did place an order with them to try them out on a few things. And luckily for me, they're just over in Wisconsin. And so we have a more regional shipping carrier called Speedy Delivery. And so they charge a lot less for their regional deliveries. So it wasn't too bad for me. And if you're ever shopping there, you might want to see what they're selling. They call them like their domestic seconds. And so it's like a 20-pound box of material, and it's miscellaneous material. And I threw a couple of those in my order because they had them at half off. So I think they were like under $20 for the bundle. And I got some cedar, some walnut, some maple, a couple of domestics I didn't even recognize. And they are in various sizes from 3/4 inch down to, I think, an 1/8. You can actually request wood from them down to a 16th, I think. But for what I got out of that bundle, and I did record opening it up, and I plan to do a bit of a video on it to kind of give people an idea what comes in that. I got a pretty good stack of wood for, it was 2 bundles of that at like $20 plus some shipping. It was maybe $50. I mean, you could make a lot out of that stuff, even if you can't necessarily use the 3/4 inch hardwood with your laser. hopefully you could do some other projects with it. But it's definitely worth looking into them. They're a nice family business here in Wisconsin, and it definitely the quality I got from them, I'm very happy with. And like I said, I'll hopefully have some content out on using that stuff and what you get in the relatively near future.
Yeah. I see a Butch and Linda Wicker put in for the group, but they didn't answer the questions. And a Lou Moshi also did not answer the question. I'm thinking maybe Butch is a real person. Maybe if you're in here, you can let me know. I just approved the ones that did answer. But yeah. Yeah, Brian, I pulled it up and I saw that. I don't. If as long as we know they're real, that's cool with me. If they just want to throw their hand up, let us know. But it just keeps it easier because sometimes we let them in and never get the questions answered and turn and find out they're a bot.
Yeah. So Kling's pointed out 3mm 1/8 inch is really hard to find in stores, and that's true. And that's where if you can find more of a hardwood dealer, non big box store lumber dealer, they often can order it if they don't stock it. And if they're making regular orders, it doesn't necessarily cost them a whole lot to add that to their order. So they can usually work with you if you're willing to maybe do a little bit, especially if you're able to get a few sheets in and break them down kind of thing. Otherwise, yeah, it typically tends to be more of an online thing to order some of that in. But, look around at, depends on the store you've got. Some will stock. There's a company called Midwest Products, and they're more in the hobby realm, but they have smaller craft woods, and they have both basswood and like a birch hardwood that can work pretty well. But it is a little bit tougher to get into that thinner material.
Yeah. But like I said, I've got some 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch material that I got from a local shop here, and then the other day I did the video, of course, on the trip to Lowe's where I got some there, and it's hit or miss, depending on what you're using it for. Some of it is good wood for one project and maybe not good for another, but it's still cheaper if you can buy a 4x8 sheet and break it down than it is if you have to go buy the 24x24 sheets or whatever. So y'all excuse me. I done with all this medications. I done got used to going to bed. My wife told me, she's like, "You probably won't make it till 9 o'clock," because I've been going to bed early. Because it's tiresome between the medicines and the pain, and having to like exert twice as much energy to do something. It just wears me out. Seems like. But guys, if you haven't already, too, I'm going to bring something up. This one's for Steve here. If you haven't subscribed to Steve's YouTube channel, please go do it, because Steve is hustling to get his subscriber count. And guys, I know subscriber counts aren't everything, but it helps. It helps us. It helps make things look better. And Steve has set himself a goal for the end of the year that he is going to be at 10,000 subscribers. It's a very doable thing. I think we could probably do it before then, but he's at 9.15 right now. So if you're coming over from my channel and you haven't subscribed to Steve, if you haven't subscribed to me, do that too, please. But also go reach out over on Steve's page and give him a subscribe. He's always telling me, guys, that he loses subscribers on the lives, which for some reason I don't know why it happens, but he does. But let's change that. Go over there and hit that like button and tell the world. Go tell the world to go like Steve's page on YouTube. That'll be Vintauri's Workshop on YouTube.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do have that goal. I mean, like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean anything specific, but it's good to have goals to work towards in your career and your hobbies and such. And I am trying to make sure I'm balancing it out. I try to add a little, even in my reviews, I try to add some kind of tips and tricks that are good for anybody. But I'm trying to balance out the videos with some projects, some tutorials, and then, try to spread out the review type things. But like we've talked about, sometimes we, even as much as we try to say, I'm only taking the unique stuff, it seems like they come in waves. You get a little little inundated with them, but
Yeah.
appreciate that. And yeah, I hope to. I've got a lot of things spinning around in my head. Actually, a friend of mine just dropped off. They've got some land and a cabin up in north central Minnesota, and they were taking care of some trees last year, and they had to cut some down, but they had some burls on them, and they cut them off, and they haven't been able to bring them down. Well, he brought them down this weekend and just dropped them off with me before the channel or before the stream, so I haven't even really been able to do much with them. But I'm going to cut into them, see what I've got, and maybe they'll end up on one of the CNCs, or well, maybe I'll be going old school and doing something on the lathe or something. So I'm just warning you. I'll mix in a little bit of traditional workshop woodworking time in there too as well. So,
Well, I'll be back on the sawmill if I can ever get my back situated, because I got people begging me to mill up lumber, but I can't be doing that right now. So,
well,
once I get repaired or get mended, hopefully I'll be able to get back on the sawmill a little bit and show you guys some ways, other ways that you can get materials, like going to your local sawmill areas or whatever. But
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see how my recovery goes.
hopefully you get out on that thing before I'm able to come back down there. But I'm gonna see if I can make my spring trip again around the same event, and maybe spend a little extra time at your place this time. But I might even if that doesn't work, I might have to just coordinate a different time with you, and definitely swing down there.
Yeah.
We'll give that sawmill a workout for, well, it'll be giving me a workout, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll dust off the sawdust and give myself a workout on your sawmill next time I'm down there.
Oh yeah. Now, hopefully that will work out, and maybe by then I can have my little camper set up for you or something if I'm really lucky. That's probably going to be 2 years out, but you never know. I
Well,
might get anxious.
we keep threatening about getting a small teardrop that I can pull behind and such, but
Brian, we would have to. I'm not saying you're not invited, Brian. We would have to kind of set something up somewhere, though. I don't know that we could all fit here in the shack. It's smaller than it looks on TV. But if he did come down like that, I mean, we could technically, especially for the folks that are in the general area, we could try to set up a, hey, we're going to go out to eat or something. Brandy says you better bring Carla. She's going to need some company.
well, yeah, no, hopefully we could time it around, especially if I'm not. Carla's come with me to model airplane events before, and she's enjoyed them. But I think if I planned it around not going to that event, she would be more inclined to come with as well. So yeah, maybe we can make it a fun trip together, and you can take her around. She loves photography, so Brandy, you'll need to take her to all the cool spots to get photos of things. So, but anyway, yeah, well, some sort of meetup at some point would be fun. I wish I was going to be able to make it to Lightburn Experience. That's coming up here in just like barely a week. Just I think it's next weekend. That would I know there's a lot of people that are going to be there. Both from laser channels to other creators, and then Lightburn themselves. One of the big things coming out of that is they're hopefully announcing some more information about their CNC control software that's going to be coming out. I know a lot of people are excited to see what they're doing with that, and we'll hopefully follow along. Now it's supposed to be a separate software, but hopefully it follows along with their ethos of making high-powered software very affordable for makers. So. We will see.
Oh.
I'm looking forward to information from that event.
Whew, Lord.
Yeah, doing all right?
Yeah, I had to get up, walk outside for a second there,
Right.
and getting up out of his chair.
Well,
Woo.
well, everybody's already making their plans. They're going to be heading to your place in 2024, and so
we're gonna need somewhere for y'all to sleep.
yeah. Well,
we're gonna like Woodstock it.
you've got that. Isn't there that venue just down the road from you? You could just rent out the land and.
I mean, I guess we could. We're gonna need a singer or somebody to play some music. How musically talented are you?
Well.
Because I mean, if we're gonna have a Clack Fest now, we gotta have music. We're gonna need some country music there at least.
So I mean, Yeah, no, I played classical violin for quite a few years and dabbled in other instruments, but I'm not sure I could do the fiddle version of violin for
Okay,
the
so
southern type
you may
stuff.
not be
So
on our entertainer list. We'll have to
yeah,
kick
I
you off
don't
of that.
think you. I mean, I come from a very my mom was big into music, and so definitely there's history there and such. But yeah, I nothing that's gonna stand by itself for long. So
Yeah. Well, no, there is there's a I don't know if it's still operational as far as if they're still got all the cabins and stuff up and going. It used to be a Christian retreat that's like 2 miles from my house, and they've got a swimming pool with a little rec center. And they had cabins and stuff like that. I don't know if they've got that thing operational again or not, but that might be something down the road. That might be something cool to have, something cool to do. Because when I retire, I'm gonna have to find some stuff to keep me busy, guys. That's all there is
um,
to it.
there's oh, it's up in New York, and it was just a couple weeks ago. Jimmy DiResta and a few people kind of spun it up. It's like maker camp or something like that, and yeah, they bring in all sorts of people that they do. They're more.
Yeah.
It's more traditional craft type stuff. But it was kind of like just a like a campground site that they take over, and they've got sawmills and wood lathes and
Yeah.
pretty much anything that they can run out there. But yeah, no, it would be kind of fun to have. See, that's where the woodworking show was really cool, and I had great feedback from people there. Um, I just I was talking so much I didn't get as much time to run the X-Tool D1, and I also didn't want to annoy people too much with smoke. Um, Even though I had the filters and they would have done a pretty good job, but I would love to be at an event like that where I could actually be working on more projects while also chatting with people to just kind of show them a little bit more. But
Super Dude said we're going to have room turn around a fifth wheel.
oof,
He's he's bringing his house on wheels. I want to see that thing. So one day we're going to have to get together because he's got a shop built in the back of this thing, and he's my inspiration.
well,
I know
it,
I can't afford the truck to pull a camper like that with right now, but
yeah,
maybe one day, maybe one day.
just get one of those toy hauler fifth wheels and turn that garage into your shop. So
Yeah,
yeah, Maker
but
Camp, the Catskills area. That's the one I'm talking about. So
yeah.
that
Well, when me and Brandy finally get to where we're retiring, we're gonna do some traveling, and I'll have to we'll call it the Clack tour or whatever. I'll have to let y'all know where we're gonna be on what dates, and I can meet everybody. Like we could we could set up a spot in each state as we go through, and just meet folks and say hey. That would actually be fun. It's gonna take a lot of time. Uh,
there you go, Brian. Uh, Brandy's got you covered. Maybay and So Charming having a crafting and quilting event.
yeah,
Just
I
head
may,
down for that.
and there's gonna be some really awesome name tags at that event that me and Brandy made. Brandy did the majority of the work because I was like this. All I did was run the computer. She put the wood in there, took them off, cleaned them up, all that. So I guess technically she did those.
Everybody's planning your trip, and Super Duty Jeff says Boone, North Carolina, you can provide a whole campground as long
Hey,
as we got power
I
and
might,
a
I
little
might
shelter.
call
We're
you.
good to go.
I might call you on that when I get my camper now. Super Duty. 'Cause that's some pretty good country up there in Boone. That's right. See, everybody's gonna have a good name picked out for me by the time we get around to doing it. I'm sure. But yeah, it would be cool to be able to do something like that. And like I said, as I retire and go more into full time this, uh, I think that's going to become a possibility. But I got to get my time in first. Much as I would kind of love to be able to just stay home now that I've been home for 3 weeks, but who knows? Well, Super Duty, I might hit you up on that one of these days. So I might tell you to reserve me a spot.
Sure, a spot. He's gonna have to reserve you the whole campground for everybody coming to see you.
Nah, they probably won't be but 3 or 4. Yeah, Brian, May has her events at a local 2-year college, and I had actually thought about maybe trying to partner with her on some stuff, and maybe come in and teach a class or whatever with her after I get to where I'm not working all the time. But a lot of the ladies that watch Maymay's channel, either they themselves watch my videos or their husbands like to watch my videos. So that's pretty cool, because you get to meet those folks, and they're like, yeah, my husband loves your videos. This is a machine we have, and it's pretty neat. And sometimes you meet people that have a laser that ain't never heard of me, and I'm like, oh, Brandy's like, what? Everybody have to know you? I'm like, but you can't Google something to doing with a diode laser and not see one of my videos. It's just hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I was surprised the number of people at the show this past weekend that they're like, oh yeah, I watched your videos and such, and so it was great to see that and hear that. But yeah, I mean, even pre-show, I had like the guys from Woodcraft are like, hey, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about laser stuff too. And I was like, oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Chicago Bob. You can ask my wife. My taste in music it ranges from Colt Ford to Hank Williams to George Jones to Willie Nelson to Waylon Jennings to Jason Aldean. I mean, I'm all over the place. If it sounds good, it's got a nice beat to it, I'm listening to it. Oh, but some of the music that I listen to, she's like, "That's not country music. That's rap." I'm like, "No, it's country swagger rap." But I mean, but it's still it's a feeling. Is all I can tell you. My selection in music is not based on what they call genre. It's does it have a good beat, and does it get me tapping my toes?
She
But
really get on you when you turn on that Taylor Swift too.
I don't really listen to a whole lot of Taylor Swift. I mean, I did have like the top score on Britney Spears song back on the PlayStation 4, and we had that little Sing Star game or whatever. I had the high score on Britney Spears, which was kind of scary, but I pulled it off. Here we go. Steve,
Yeah.
so
Well,
you didn't have a VIP entrance or nothing?
well, I that I was just glad there was a table there that I could
Yeah.
that I was able to use. No, actually, the both the club and the site was very accommodating for us, and they gave me two spots with a couple tables, and then even offered me an additional one after that. But yeah, it was pretty busy. Everybody at the event there was very happy and surprised with the turnout. So
Verlay, I haven't had to use Algo laser or anybody's support really. I haven't had any problems with the Algo. Uh, I would have been curious what was wrong with it. I wouldn't mind troubleshooting it a little bit, but the Algo, I will tell you, the location of that emergency shut off. If you're sitting on your machine like I am, I'm bad to hit that thing. But the only problems I've had were usually because I was doing something with the software I shouldn't have, and I flashed the firmware accidentally.
so yeah, I haven't had to use the support on too many either. Now Gil was kind of one of the primary guys in the support for Ortour, but he's doing support for Algo now. And I know if you not everybody likes Facebook, but sometimes you can join their official groups, their user groups, and sometimes in there you can get some good responses from some of their support people there as well. But I mean, you shouldn't have to do that, but it's another tool if you are struggling with any brand of your laser. It sometimes is helpful to find their official and or their user groups for those brands.
Yeah, Sharon, I like Upchurch's music. Some of it's a little, his language gets a little bad in it, but it's good music. Some of the songs that he makes that they edit them safe for radio, those are pretty cool to be able to watch. But some of them get a little harsh if you got your wife and kids in the car with you. So Pandora, yeah, I'm familiar with Pandora, Megadeth, Anthrax. I grew up in a mosh pit, believe it or not. Back in the day, back when everything I wore was black. Uh, let's see, Insane Clown Posse. Let's see, who else was there? Oh, Kurt Cobain. Let's don't forget the night that we all cried when Kurt from Nirvana wound up biting the dirt. It was a sad, sad day in the '90s. But yeah, like I said, I run the gantry on all kinds of music. Y'all don't even want to get me started.
All right. Well, here's one for you. Since you've got the experience, where do you think the 40 watt S1 falls in all of the desktop lasers out there?
Now, I don't have any firsthand knowledge other than the We Create and this one are the only two, fully contained machines that I've had a chance to run into. But I will say, knowing X Tools' history as far as how their equipment holds up, because I've still got both my D1 and my D1 Pro running, I think that this machine is going to have good longevity compared to most machines. X Tool usually does some pretty innovative things in software on the back end after a machine's rolled out. I think there may be still some changes coming for this one. The pin system, it's having to grow on me. It is very useful, and I can see why they would argue that it's actually better than a camera. But I'm spoiled. I like to be able to see my workpiece. So I know that there's a bunch of other companies that have made similar. Didn't you say that it wasn't Monport, but what was the other company to come out with the latest one? Was it Thunder? Thunderbolt. Didn't somebody else come out with a desktop diode that normally makes CO2?
Oh, Ohmtech has a diode. I haven't looked into it as much.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Thunder Laser has a diode or not. They have it's a desktop CO2. Yeah. And yeah, it's called the Bolt. But it's going to be bigger than that S1 for sure. It's kind of like you could put it on a desktop, but it's still in and of itself. It's a pretty beefy machine. So
yeah. But like I said, I still kind of like being able to, like, maybe it's because I have played with Legos and an erector set growing up or whatever, or Lincoln Logs. But I still
all the good ones.
I still like putting my own stuff together to an extent. You know what I mean? Yes, opening the box and setting it on the table and it working has its place. But I like to make my practical versions of stuff. So it's like I said, the X2 so far, the S1 is performed well. Just know two things: you have a limited workspace and limited Z height without the extended base. As long as you're good with those two things, those are the only two things that I would say somebody needs to consider carefully, because there's no easy fix to the workspace unless you, like I said, take the bottom loose and make you some blocks on your own. Then you could engineer it to do that, but then you're killing the air collection and the fume extraction that it has built into it. But the only two downsides that I've seen so far is you're limited to about 3/4 inch material on the honeycomb, and maybe 3 and 7 inch and 7/8 without the honeycomb. So if you're wanting to do a 2-inch piece of thick material, you're not doing it in this machine unless you take the floor out of it. So that's the biggest downside. And then the other thing would be, the actual bed size, which for most stuff that you're going to do, it works great as far as the bed size. I'm still waiting on them to fix it to where it automatically goes back into this corner instead of stopping where you were at when you framed, because that's annoying, because then you have to home it to get it to go back there, because the way it works, you have no choice but to bring your workpiece out through here. So the gantry stopping right there can be a little bit irritating, but it's a good machine as far as, like I said, I like the way it's put together. It's clean. It's not real heavy. There's a lot of things I do like about it. So far, the only negatives I have is the limited Z-axis. But we'll see. I'm still trying it out right now. I could find something tomorrow that I didn't like.
So ET's asked this a couple times, so I want to make sure we hit it up. Talking about the Aether extension and how easy it is to install and such like that. So
you've done it too, haven't you?
No, not on.
Okay.
not on. I assume he's talking about. Well, I guess I'm not sure which one he's talking about. The P series or the L2 series,
Yeah,
because
I
they
would
just.
think the process would be very similar.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but slightly different style of rails and
Yeah.
belts and such on each one. But
Well, I will tell you, I have actually taken and I put rails on and off of a P20 and a V35 three times because I did it. I did it the first time when I got my P20 up extended. Then when I got my V35, I did it again. But then I realized I didn't have the right cable, so I had to take it back apart, make it back into a square form machine, and then when I got my cables in, I went back and redid the machine after that. So I've actually disassembled and reassembled them three times. It's not really that bad. All you've got to concentrate on is just make sure that when you put the belt on there, that you connect all the synchronizers on the belt. It's the same process, exact same process as putting the factory sides on it. You just got to put longer ones on there. The only part that I will caution you on is when you start to take the wiring loose from the controller, grab your cell phone, snap a couple of pictures of where everything's plugged in at before you disconnect everything. Make sure that every plug on that board is visible in your photo, and you can redetermine where it needs to go before you go back with it. Because that's the only part that would have scared me had I not took a picture. Because by the time I went to put it back together, I realized I was like, well, there's two ports that are marked the same thing. Where was mine plugged in at? And so I looked at my photo and referenced it, and I put it back together no problem. That would be the only big thing that I would say. Take your time, go ahead and snap some photos, more than one if needed.
yeah, I do that most any time I'm taking something apart, and so I did the same thing when I did the Atom Stack upgrade. Although they do provide a pretty good diagram in their manual, and then they label their wires pretty well, both on the board and on the ends. So it wasn't too bad of an issue. But yeah, just to make sure, I always try to, before I start, snap that photo.
Yeah. Yeah, Brent. I'm not the greatest at it, but I don't know what size adapter you need, but I may already have one made. I've made a couple of them.
Um, so as far as Brilliance marking spray, yes, I've actually been using it recently, and as a matter of fact, in my next video with this 10 watt Atom Stack X7 and the rotary, I use it on both some glass and some stainless steel. So it definitely works even with a 10 watt diode on stainless steel. So it's less expensive than Cermark, and so I would say go ahead and use it.
Yeah, Brian. The latest extension kits that they're shipping out come with both cables, the 4 pin and the 5 pin cables. The extension that I had was my original P20 extension that I bought before the V35 was even a thing, and so I went into my box that the extension came out of, and there was no other cable. But when I ordered my new set for the V35, it came with both the 4 pin and 5 pin cable. So you should be fine if it's a newer extension kit that you're ordering. It'll come with both. Just make sure which one you require. The new V35 should take the 5 pin. The P20 took a 4 pin. Uh, Jim, they didn't build it very jig friendly necessarily, but I've got a way that I'm fixing to make it work. Let's put it that way.
I just wanna say I agree with Klein. The '90s were a good time.
Yeah, hey, that was the good old days. That was back before like bills and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I have about 6 people on staff that I manage, and the youngest one that I hired this past year was actually born after I had started working at the college. So he's a 2000s baby, and so we always joke around. He's like, "Well, back in the 1900s, this is how we did it." So
2.25 inner diameter on the planer. I don't want a shop back. 2. I have to look. I've got a shop back reducer. You have to email me, Brent, so that I can remember it. I will forget if you don't email me. Cause when I get through here, I'm probably going in there going to bed. But email me if I'm sitting around goofing off one day. I might throw it together.
Um, So Mark's asking which will work better for doing inlay projects, diode or CO2, and why, or is either going to give equivalent results just faster with CO2. So this is going to be one of those. It depends. It's going to depend on how detailed and fine your inlay is, but also your CO2 beam is going to be more circular, and your diodes are going to possibly be rectangular or at least square. And when they get rectangular, that's going to be a real pain when trying to get a very exact inlay, in the fact that your kerf is not going to be consistent in both axes. So if you're going to go for a really, really tight inlay, the CO2 may be better, because even though it has a wider beam, as long as you don't have super tight joint or points and such, more of like if it had to go into a V area, that's where you might run into that issue. It's going to have a more rounded kerf that's going to be consistent in both your X and Y. That being said, inlays are best with a CNC router and a V-bit. So, but really, either one's going to work, and you can do some really awesome inlay work with a diode. You just need to kind of keep in mind, do a little playing with your kerf to try to get that as tight as you can be, and also understand that the kerf offset might be different for a softer wood and a harder wood, just to the extra burning. So,
Yep. Jim, I pretty much stick with Cermark. There are other sprays, but I stick with Cermark because that's what I've gotten to where I can use it and do a pretty good job with it.
So yeah, I was playing with it on glass today with that 10 watt, and I'm not sure the 10 watt has the power to really fuse it to the glass in a black. I was getting kind of more of a grayish frosted. Then this is the brilliance. I'm speaking to his question on the brilliance.
Oh, okay.
And so, but I haven't tried it with, I was using small glasses, and I wasn't wanting to do a whole lot of material testing on this one. So I didn't do my full homework on it to really see if this laser, with that material and that glass, some, various glass is different, and how well it actually takes an etch, and that's gonna matter. So but again, it's really a power and speed setting. You got to do your testing on the material.
I've got my mason jar setting for my 10 watt at 100% at 5 millimeters per second. So that's a mason jar. So it's glass, but it's a mason jar. So Walmart mirror 100% at 120 millimeters a second on image. So that's a couple of settings that I have that you might be interested in.
Well, Mark, I'm happy to help with the questions, but I take no responsibility for what it does to your wallet.
Oh yeah,
getting
yeah.
CNC for doing inlays. But yeah, like you mentioned earlier, he's having some differences in X and Y gaps, and so if you have a diode and it's a very rectangular curve, yeah, that is going to give you a little bit of fits if you're trying to get a very consistent kind of line there with your inlays. So CO2 might be an option, or try to if you want to play around with certain modules, have more of a square point to them. But CNC is definitely going to be a nice one for inlays, but it's a whole nother rabbit hole to dive down.
Yes, I've installed both the 12 volt version on my old Niji 3, and I installed the 24 volt version, which it wasn't the Niji's 24 volt, but I got a 24 volt relay over there on my Niji hanging on the wall, and I have one. Let me see if I can get a camera where you can see it. I have one inside my enclosure here, which I used my little 3D printed. I used my little 3D printed bracket to hold. Oh, what is that? What the world?
Everybody rotate your monitors. No, that's the wrong way. Now you're just upside down. There we go. Almost.
Help.
Okay. Now we're all going to need some Dramamine.
I'm trying to get it right, guys. Hang on, let me just take this loose.
So, Mike, did you have a specific question on the Niji air assist
relay? Relay right there. I can't get no closer. But yeah, I used. I could give you a link to the ones that I've been using. I used it on the Niji. The thing that you need to make sure of before you connect it to any laser is you need to use a volt ohm meter and confirm the current that is going to the pump to make sure that it's 12 or 24 volts. Oh, yeah, Chicago. But that's the biggest thing that I'll tell you. I've got an extra relay over there, and I can drop the links. They're separate ones depending on what the output of your machine is. You're going to want to make sure, like I said, just take up volt ohm meter and check the outputs. If the thing's pulling 12 volts, then you're going to need 12 volt. And if it's using 24, you're going to need a 24 volt. Most of the newer machines are now using 24 volt. Where in the world is my orders? There we go. 24 volt. All right, let me get it. But this is the relays that I've been using. It's the same exact one that shipped with the old Nijis for the most part. There you go, right there.
This is something that would go well in my state. State of hockey up here. Gretsch just engraved his first hockey puck. Worked well, and that's awesome. Hopefully, that's something that's going to be good gifts or maybe business for you for some teams and such. As always, just make sure. A lot of hockey pucks are made out of I forget, it's like vulcanized rubber or something like that, and that's okay. But you just want to stay away from the cheap synthetic ones because you never know what's in some of those.
Not a bad idea, Brian. I'll have to. I guess I could use the one that I don't have connected to something. I need to order me a spare one because I'm going through those things. I mounted the one for the Niji. I actually mounted it to the frame of the Niji. So when I decided I wanted to put the Algo laser on Shop Air instead of using their pump because it just felt like their pump was not doing a good job, I had to order another 24 volt. It's fairly simple. But now you do have to butcher your factory pump to do it, unless you have a plug like Niji has, where you can plug directly into the M7 or M8. Some of these other machines that have these different S connectors and so forth that connect power back to the machine, you're going to have to remove that pigtail and use it as an adapter of sorts, and then just wire the relay into that. So that's the only thing. So as Steve says, it'll void your warranty on your air pump. Because you got to cut the pigtail off of it. It's easy enough to fix if you feel comfortable with electrical stuff, but you do have to cut that pigtail off and use it to make an adapter on some of the machines, such as the Longer and the Asmer and Niji. Well, the Niji's easy; it's got a plug, and the
So Mike's asking what activates the relay, and so you were kind of hitting on it there. You need to have a board that supports M7 or M8 control, which
yes.
Lightburn can then address as basically an on-off, and then that sends a 12 or 24 volt signal to the relay to go into its on or off state. So you need to make sure that your board supports it. So a lot of the newer ones are coming with that. Some of the older ones occasionally have that, but not used. But as like he said, as long as you can tap into that lead coming off of there, Niji makes it really easy because it's right there. But some others you can get into the board as well and make an adapter, or you just I'm comfortable doing wiring on things like that. So I'll usually just add like a JST connector in line that I can swap between the original one and then my adapted one or something like that. And
Yeah, I ordered a whole pack of those, the M8, M7 relays, the male
There
and
you go.
female.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do have to, like I said, in order to use it with light burn, you're going to have a controller that operates with light burn. Now, you could use a 24-volt power supply and that relay and flip the switch, flip a switch on the side of your enclosure and activate it. But as far as it being activated in light burn, the machine is going to have that M7 or M8 output to be able to send to the the controller to tell it to turn it on or turn it off. So, and it's not with the relays. It's not like on halfway on full blast. It's either off or it's on. It's just a pneumatic relay is all it is, that, or a pneumatic valve, I guess I could say, uh, that just allows the air to pass through when it's activated.
Yeah. Now that you got the smart air assist with your S1, or did you not?
Yes, it's got the
S-
factory air assist.
So now, do they have that set up to where you can control the flow as well? Because I kind of got that impression that that was a feature.
Yeah, they. I mentioned it in my first initial video, but I downloaded the latest patches, and so now they have to where you can turn the air assist off, or you can turn it on, and you can set it from like 0 to 4 for engrave and 0 to 4 for cut. So they actually have an option to where it comes on like step 1 or step 2 on engrave even, which I like that.
Right.
And I kind of touched on that in my video that should be out in the morning. So I have run
Yeah.
out of tea.
That's a feature that I've been, that I would really love to have, because, like you
Yeah.
and I have said before, always using air, but sometimes you want less air, just enough to keep moving that debris, but not, you know.
Yeah, I've been torture testing this thing too with the air set up like I've got it. It's really not getting that dirty on the inside where the lens is. Now it's getting nasty on the outside. The cone's getting nasty, but when I took the cone off of it, it really wasn't bad on the inside. So I'll swap you over here to show you. But yeah, they've updated the settings and everything in here. So now when you go over to your machine and you hit settings, when you go down here to the bottom, you've got all these flame alert sensors. And then you've got this. You can also turn the lights up or down, and then you've got the cut settings and engrave settings. And they fixed it where you turn off the buzzer reminders and all that. Uh, but and I don't even know why that's even checked. I don't have a conveyor, but whatever. It's working fine with it on there. But yeah, that's apparently a recent update because it wasn't in there the other day, but it is now. Before it was just simply off or on. But that's my machine, and they've got it now to where you can go to those little X Tool projects thing. You probably have the same thing on the F1, and they've got like a lot of like little downloads and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But I'm gonna try to go over more of that in some of my other videos coming up because I feel like I'm gonna have a little bit of free time on my hands.
Yeah, and that's
Jeez.
that's one thing. Especially using the F1, it's pushed me to use creative or actual creative space a little bit more. And I do have to say they keep developing that software. They keep taking feedback from people and adding more features to it. And so it is nice to see them doing that and giving people an option that is more than laser GRBL. I had someone bought one of my files on Etsy and then was complaining about it not importing right, and they were using laser GRBL. So I fired it up again, and I was just like, oh, this is painful. So, it's nice to see Xtool continuing to develop their software as an option. On the flip side of that, it is for people who have Lightburn, like Lightburn, have been using it. It's frustrating to have it not be fully functional in some of these things, but great to have an option that's viable. And I hear others are working on similar software, so competition is generally good. It helps drive some innovation and such. So
Look at that. See, I'm telling y'all, she's awesome. She brought me some tea. She saw I was choking on cat hair. Fluffy got up here in my lap earlier and got cat hair all over me, and I've inhaled like 3 or 4 of them, and they're like up in my sinuses, choking me to death. Oh, but Yeah, I use the AI in XCS, and it does all right. It will create like six fingered people for you every now and then, stuff like that. And it gets a little crazy with some of its interpretations of what you want to see, but
Well, apparently
uh,
hands are something that's very difficult for AI to model right. So that's
well, I do know when I was taking art class, they always said that if you could draw hands, you could pretty much draw any other part of the body.
yeah.
Yes, I had to take art; it was required.
Hey, art's good.
But yeah, but I am impressed with some of the features that they've got on the S1. I will say that. But it's not in any danger of me kicking this machine out of the shop for it. It's not, because this machine still has things that it can do that that one cannot. But for somebody, like I said, if you want something that looks cool and can cut the crap out of some quarter inch plywood, as long as you're good with the workspace, it's decent.
Well, I'm curious to see because I think it's a much better option for um, community workspace areas. Where you got a lot of
Yeah.
people coming in and out, and you can't necessarily police the the goggles or the glasses as much, as well as like schools and things. They've got the safety switch. You lift up the lid; it's supposed to turn off, and it is contained a lot better. But I'm curious to see how it goes. Do you see that maybe taking over the spot of your D1 in your mobile clack shack?
Now, that's possible. I have thought about that because I mean it's a really nice, clean looking machine. It's an all in one, so I mean that I can't rule that out. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to master building jigs for it and get over
Hmm.
into Lightburn and set my jigs up and see how it works, because at an event, I have my little multi jig up there where I can engrave all kinds of stuff. So I I'm not going to say it's not. That is a possibility. But yes, it would do really well for something like that.
Well, and that's one thing I found that with that little F1 is for at that show. Yeah, I mean, as Brian mentioned, I was demoing the snot out of that thing because it was so easy. I had a couple things set up where I could just align them to the alignment pegs that were in there. It was quick, it was easy, and it was safe. So I can see that being similar, as like you say, assuming you can get something where you can almost have like a jig type thing set up to get it positioned quickly and burned.
Yeah. Brian, I wound up getting, and like I said, it was just luck of the draw. I wound up getting the 40-watt module. Oh, I got lucky on that. Oh, but the module is a beast. Let me get it turned around right there. Uh, the thing about this one is, in order to take this module loose, all you've really got to do is take this screw here and that screw there out, and then the module lifts up and comes out this way, and you take the cables and the wires loose, and you can pop the other modules on there. That's pretty neat. I will say the fact that you could change these out in just a few seconds, that's pretty neat. Now this little pin that's over here that it uses to do the focus with, you'd have to take it off and put it on the other one. But as you can see, it has drag chains everywhere, even though it probably really doesn't need it inside this enclosure. It does have drag chains everywhere, and it's got flame sensors like all around it. So you shouldn't be able to catch it on fire without knowing about it. As long as they don't start giving me problems. If they do, I'll turn them off. But I'm sorry, Brian. I'll send you some vinegar. Was it vinegar or whatever for nausea? But yeah, it's a decent machine, guys. I mean, X Tools never sent me anything, so I was shocked when they messaged me about getting this machine. I was like, wow, I'd have been happy with a D1, but when they asked me about trying this thing out, I was like, I said I wasn't going to do a whole lot of more review videos, but how can I turn this down?
Mm.
So, but yeah, but it's so far it's worked really well. Like I said, the way it's built, they're still using those little metal rods, kind of like what's in the D1, but it's a lot bigger. Main beam is a lot bigger, the I guess you could say the linear rail, but it's kind of a linear rail with the rounded stainless steel rod on top of it. So
So Sharon's asking if it's better to use PVC pipe in place of dryer vents. Do you agree? And so the idea around that is if you're using like the flexible dryer vents, those that kind of I don't know what if you're that spiralish shape that causes that's not smooth, and that's going to cause some issues. Um, they, it's also a very thin material. They're more prone to getting holes and such in there. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be PVC pipe, but if you use like actual, metal piping that's smooth, and then also the less you have like 90-degree bends, it's going to help that. Move more smoothly and lose less energy in those turns. So um, it's really about having more of a smooth, as straight as possible surface to keep that air moving.
yeah, I've been running mostly the stuff that you see over there on my dust extraction. It's I don't know what it's made out of, but it's clear material with the wire in it, and because I was having similar problems with the dryer vent stuff, getting pinholes in it, and it was leaking. So I needed to come up with a new alternative, and I went to this stuff, and I've got that in 3 inch, 4 inch, and 6 inch.
Well, and even
So
that stuff, because it's not smooth walled, you're losing some velocity as it goes across that, and any time that also has a tendency to be able to be bent really tight. So
yep,
that's the big crux there is the it's just causing basically turbulence and such. So
yep, yeah, okay. Outclimb. I don't think so. He's been trying to get his hands on that machine.
well,
He
I,
thinks
I,
he wants one of them.
you've got a coupon code, right?
Yeah, I told him click the link. Links below. Uh, hang on. I'm not really sure I'm following the question here. The way that I got it from my big machine, my enclosure Zilla, the way it's drew up is how you need it for to have the lift table in there. Uh, and it's actually got a V35 in it now, but it fits the P20 or the V35. But the way the plans are drew up, there should be a cutout in that plan. That's where the lift table comes up from the bottom, from the floor. So
Nope.
did I unclick you?
I got it. So this is one reason, both with if you're using the flexible pipe or really any piping, this is why it is best to have your exhaust fan as close to your outlet as possible, so that through the length of the pipe that you're using, it's drawing a vacuum versus blowing on it, because that way it's going to want to suck in through any air holes rather than push out. So um, just one of those reasons that while it's great, the S1 and others have a fan at the source, everything on the other side of that fan is blowing out. It's adding pressure rather than suction. So if you're going building your own enclosure, if you can put your exhaust fan as close to the outlet side of your wall or whatever, and then run your piping from there to your enclosure, you're going to have less air leaks that are pushing smoke out, because it's going to be more likely to be drawing air in through those pinholes and such. But yeah, using aluminum tape, even some silicone and such, you want to seal those up. Even some of those cheaper fans, the first 4 inch, I forget the brand, VivoSun or whatever.
Yeah,
I had
I have one of them too.
I had to electrical tape the thing that every seam on there up, because it was leaking pretty bad. But definitely something to look for in any of your setups, is try to get those seams tightened up. So
ET, you could technically just chop it off right there where that interior wall is that separates the top and bottom. If you just stopped it right there and just didn't put the bottom from here down, just didn't do this part, because there's a little table in there that the machine sets on, that's a good, what is it, 13 inches above the floor of the machine. So yeah, you could just not build the bottom part and just build the top half. But you just go back later and add the bottom if you did want to put the lift in it.
So Sharon, if you're using only about 12 inches of that, you're probably pretty good. Where it really becomes an issue is when you're, multiple feet away. So like if you have a straight shot of that's 6 feet away, still probably not a huge difference. But if you have it 6 feet and you got two sharp 90-degree bends in there, it's like adding 10 feet to that pipe. So obviously the shorter the distance, the better, and the straighter the better. But
yeah, kind of like that 20-foot of pipe going over toward my door right there.
Yeah, and that's where you're saying, you had to add that
Yeah, I had
booster fan kind of thing.
I had to put another fan at the end of it to keep it from being able to back up, because I am running it 20 foot in a 6-foot piece of pipe.
The biggest killer is anything that's gonna, like a bend in it is gonna be your biggest killer. So being able to keep it as straight as possible and as smooth as possible. So I wouldn't have like 12 inches of it all bundled up. I would cut it to where it's 12 inches and stretched out so it's as smooth as possible. But at 12 inches, you're doing pretty good, where you're not going to have a lot of losses there.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, it's getting later. That's all, folks. My wife said I wouldn't make it till 9 o'clock, so I've got to make it to 9 o'clock just to prove her wrong.
Wow.
But yeah, if you hadn't already, guys, go hit them subscribes, likes, shares, all that good stuff. My content's been kind of non-existent for the past 5 to 7 days, but I hope to be able to come out here, and it may be in this capacity, sitting at the computer instead of walking around, but hopefully I can get some stuff put together. I do have the S1 video. I finished editing it a while ago. I think I've got all the links and everything that's got to go in it. So hopefully it'll be ready to go in the morning. So when you wake up tomorrow, there should be a little more information on the S1. I didn't go too in detail because I want to break it out over several videos. Today's video is only going to be about a 20-minute video. And it just basically is just a high flyover first impressions type thing. And then I want to do some more with XCS and some of the new features and stuff like that. But I want to do a video specifically on using this triangulation system with the S1, because that's gonna take a little while to kind of be thorough enough that I feel like people will understand it. But yeah, y'all keep them coming. The group's growing. We've went from me and Steve and 20 of you guys to we've had close to 90 or more. At times we were over 100 in here. So y'all keep spreading the word about all the good information that Steve's got for you. And the entertainment that I provide.
Is this like the what was that show? It was the red whatever. If they don't find you handsome, they at least find you handy.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't find me informative, at least find me entertaining.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, as long as it's something. Entertaining, amusing. I don't even care if you get on there and just comment that I talk too much like the rest of these folks do. That's cool. Like, the surprise! You're like, they're not. You think you're the first person who's told me that.
Yes. Red Green Show. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that down where you're from, but that was.
Don't know about that.
You might enjoy it.
Well, welcome aboard from Augusta, Georgia. I know where that's at. Steve, I think Steve knows where that's at too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Hey, I appreciate you right there. Hang on. There you go, Rob. Appreciate you. Appreciate you there.
As I say, I'm not sure who's playing
favorite?
Sunday Night Football, but obviously we're better than that for some of you.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch the stuff no more. Like I said, a lot of that stuff got too far off into politics and stuff, and I just can't deal with it.
I just haven't paid for cable TV in years, so it's really happenstance if I've been able to catch a sports game. So
Yeah. But hang on. No, with the Glock magazines, you're not going to get a bunch of color. At least I didn't with a diode. It's more of a. It looks like an engraving, like it doesn't add color or anything to it. Now, I might could have done a speed and power test and got a little bit closer. And like I said, Steve would be quick to point out to you that you need to make sure whatever it is that you're engraving isn't poisonous, or either you've got it really well ventilated. But yeah, it was 60 speed at 75% power is what I got wrote down, and it did a pretty decent little job.
yeah, I'm not
Now
100.
I haven't tried that with the fiber. I should probably do that one day.
I'm not 100% sure on the Glock mags, but I know the P mags. Someone had inquired. They wouldn't say specifically what their compound was, but they did verify that it was laser safe. So
Yeah,
take that for what it is from the company.
yeah. I would still avoid huffing it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Now, Klein, I think one of these days we need a true to life cameo on the
Dude,
show.
I have tried to get him to come over here, and I told him I'll sit you up a chair right here. I got a stool right over there he can use, and I have told him I will sit you up a chair right there, and he might have to bring his own headphones. I don't think. Well, no, I got a pair of LG tones he can use, and I've told him, come on over, we'll put you in the show, and he won't do it. I begged Brandy. I was like, hey, you gonna do a little video talking tonight about how things is going and how I'm giving you a hard time and everything. Nah, don't want no part of it. They just scared, I guess. I don't know what Klein's deal is. Now, doing it from his house would be terrible. He would look like like Super Mario Brothers or something because his internet. He tries to FaceTime me and show me things he's working on sometimes, and it's just like some Max Headroom stuff going on. But I'm gonna get him over here one of these days. I'm gonna get Brandy in front of the camera one day and just make her sit down and talk.
Well, she did you guys did the Christmas idea video. She's done a couple of them with you.
Yeah, that was because it was her idea, so that was easy. That was an easy sale on that one.
I think then you just need to listen to your wife more often. Then she'll be on video.
She says that's because I'm medicated. John, yes and no. Certain colors you will need to definitely make drastic changes to your power settings, but the darker colors like black and deep reds, deep greens, a lot of those will run about the same. But as always, like I told Klein the other night when he called me wanting a power setting, it's best to test. That rhymes, guys. It's best to test it. So a speed and power test is your friend. I know sometimes you just have to guess at it, but when you do, just be prepared. It could be a costly mistake if you try to guess and get it wrong.
All right, it's on record.
Uh-oh.
Right here.
He has committed.
It's on record.
Hey, he is committed to coming. Woo! We'll see if he shows up. Yeah. Yeah, Sharon. A client says he's gonna come, so we'll see. We'll see if he shows up. Yeah. I know. She would take it over if she could. She's out here. I got a picture. I got a picture of it the other day. I was broke down, handicapped, sitting in my chair over here, not being able to do nothing but supervise. I took a picture. I was going to do a post that I finally got promoted to supervisor at the Clack Shack because I was having to sit in the chair and she was over here finishing some stuff for me, but I was having to kind of, coach her on where to do what and what to use because I couldn't pick up anything over 10 pounds and my stove covers weigh more than 10 pounds. So I didn't want a chance having to redo this surgery. So I just sat over here and was the supervisor that day. So, but yeah, she's bailed me out. She come in here and made these name tags for May May, and got them put away. I mean, I did help stick the little sticky backs on them and stuff, but she come in here and supervise. That's what I was doing. I was supervising, making sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say that she was out there by herself, doing your orders while you were in,
No, I got a picture. I got a picture. Hang on, I'll show you a picture I got.
because I would have figured she's just been out there with a tape measure,
No, I
figuring out
guess I
where she's going
deleted
to
it
move
because
everything around.
now she did to say something about the brandy barn, and I
Yeah.
told her she better hush up with that. She'd been listening to Brian too much because she started talking about the brandy barn or something. I was like, but yeah. But she didn't know where everything was though. I had to tell her where stuff was because I told her she'd stay out here a little bit more. She'd know where everything was.
Well, you know how it goes sometimes. When you got an underperforming employee, sometimes you just got to promote them out of that job and let others do the work.
Yeah, yeah. She does good. She's helped me out a lot. I mean, especially like, dude, things that you take for granted, such as putting your socks on. Do you know how hard that is if you can't bend over? Do that yourself.
Well, you got
I mean,
you
seriously,
got your
that's challenging.
your your Crocs that
Yeah, but you got to have socks, and it's hard
isn't
to
that
work.
like wearing socks with socks with sandals? Isn't that kind of like
Hey,
a no-no,
I
a faux
can't help it.
pas?
I can't help it. My toes was cold because it's been kind of cool, and these are the only shoes I got that I can get in and out of without hurting myself. So I am wearing jogging pants, a Flat Shack t-shirt, socks, and Crocs, baby. I am officially rocking the every other 60-something-year-old retired dude's clothes. You know what I mean? So yeah, but she's right. She is the best help I've got. Tried talking her into it, Sharon. She ain't quite there yet. But I told her if she'd start a channel, we could probably get her up to 1,000 subscribers kind of quick, and then she could like do her own thing over there. But she's busy right now, taking care of me and helping take care of the kids and working and everything. So I ain't gonna ask her to carry too much more weight. She supports me so that I can come hang out with you guys currently. But now when she retires, it may be a different story. One day a week, it may be her video that y'all watching while I'm out, like, goofing off. All right, about 15 more minutes, guys. We're gonna have to wrap it up. Yeah, Brian, I think we could. I think we could do it, kind of quick. If I had to, I even told her if I had to, I would put on like a cheerleader outfit and do like a routine or something for her to try to get that watch time. I think I could get some views if I did that.
Yeah, well, okay. That might drive some unsubscribes, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Some of these it works for some people.
Hey,
Yeah,
I've given you some tips on your your thumbnails and channels.
yeah,
I've sent you those over.
yeah. The Brady Barn and Weird Husband channel. Golly, easy, Brian. I'm sitting right here, man. Oh, but yeah, it's like I said, it's been a blessing, and I was afraid that I wasn't gonna be able to get back out here at all. But Brandy's like, "Are you still gonna do the live?" I'm like, "If humanly possible, I am." But I may have to tap out or I may not. But luckily, past 2 days, it seems that a lot of the soreness has healed up, and it's getting a little easier to sit. Now, sometimes I have to stand up to kind of stretch. The doctor told me, don't stay sitting too long. Move and move around and try to keep my mobility going, but don't do anything that hurts. If it hurts, don't do it. Which is that's a self-correcting thing when it's your lower back. If you do something that hurts, typically you're not gonna you're not gonna do it again. So
Yeah, isn't that the typical doctor? It hurts when I do this, so don't do that.
yeah, I mean that's what it said that on my paperwork. If it hurts when you do it, don't do it. But if it doesn't hurt, do it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But they're claiming within 2 weeks I should be seeing some semblance of normalcy as far as pain threshold and mobility and stuff. And I'm just now fixing. Tomorrow will be a full week since my surgery, so We'll see how it goes. Jim, I'm just going to get me like some kind of little cart with a jack or something on it, so I can just lift things with it. I'm telling you, I am done with back trouble if I can help it. I no, thank you. I don't want no more of it. Well, let me put it to you this, Brian. I had a kidney stone last year that hit me. And basically, it went all the way around and dropped off in my bladder. And if anybody's ever had a kidney stone and had to endure the pain from it going from your kidney around to your bladder, that's no joke. But if you told me that you would take my leg pain that I was having away, if I would just endure one kidney stone every morning, I'd have took you up on that deal. Because the pain from the kidney stone was probably more intense, but it kind of went and came. Like it would go and it would come. It would go and it would come. The pain in my leg was like volume on max from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, and even when I was at sleep. Nerve pain is no joke. The doctor said that my sciatic nerve was extremely pinched and extremely inflamed, but once he redid whatever he did with that disc, he said that should have fixed all that, but it's going to take a couple, 3 or 4 weeks for the leg pain to totally go away. But yeah, that was a pain. I'm not going to sit here and say I've never had a baby, but I know people that have had babies and have had kidney stones that said they'd rather have another baby. And I have had a kidney stone, and I'll tell you, that was really, really painful and really, really just sick, pity your stomach feeling for 4 or 5 hours. But then it was over. It was gone. Whereas that leg pain was constant every day, all day. Just, ugh. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. I've had some intermittent sciatic pain where it was shooting down my leg like that. Luckily, it didn't. It was short lived and didn't require surgery. But I can't imagine having that just compounding day after day after day. So I'm glad they were able to fix that for you, and hopefully that, like you say, in a couple of weeks you'll be much more mobile. But yeah, talking about not hurting your back, and that's one thing that I know I've been talking with you about. It is I want to kind of rework a couple of my workbenches that I have lasers on, and get them a little more purpose built for what I'm looking at doing over the next year or two, with enclosures and such. And I am thinking about that. Sitting height versus standing height. What am I doing the most? I don't want to be bending over constantly while working on these. Being a taller person, I end up bending over for day-to-day activities, just like doing the dishes or whatnot. You're constantly bending over. So if I can eliminate that some in my workshop area, where it can be a lot of in and out of the machine and such. It might not work for other people. They might need a step stool in cases, but it's going to help me, not be hurting myself doing my hobby. And that's something to consider, even if you're young and you don't feel pain. It will catch up with you. Ergonomics are a thing.
So. Yeah. Johnny, like I said, only time will tell for sure if any of my stuff's going to be long lasting, but the doctor sounded pretty optimistic, but they didn't realize the thing had ruptured until they got in there. They were thinking that I just had a bulge and they were going to trim around the bulge and sew me up. But when I got in there, it was actually had already ruptured. So basically there was no cushion between those two vertebrae. It was just sitting there, just squishing it. And so I don't even know exactly what they did to repair it, but everything I've read says that they probably went in and put some type of a bushing, more or less, for lack of a better term, in there as a replacement for that disc. But I plan on letting them tell me what they did my next checkup, see if I got any more metal parts in me, because I'm already part robot in my face. I don't know if they used metal or but I'd be really cool if it was either a laser surgery and they put a 3D printed piece in my back. That'd be cool. But we'll see how it goes on. Yeah, Brian. Hey, they may have. They had a lot of stuff hanging over the top of that table when they put me on it. I know that. There's no telling what they had in there. There's probably a really cool laser in there somewhere. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm hoping I don't have any long term damage. I've heard people saying that their foot tingled for another year after the surgery and stuff like that. But mine seems to be subsiding. We'll keep our fingers crossed and keep it in my prayers that it is temporary. But anyway, guys, it's 150. Seems like everybody's about getting ready to pack it up, take it on in anyway. Uh, so unless y'all got any last minute before the buzzer questions, y'all, we finna wrap it up.
Yeah. Well. So yeah, you probably won't be doing the shows for a while. The in-person shows like that you did last year. I'm guessing with this.
It's going to depend on my recovery.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not gonna say I won't be there. I may not be dragging that heavy clack shack around, but I will probably still be at some of our local events. I missed the last one that they had because it was right after my surgery, and there was no way I was going over there that day. But we've got some more events coming up downtown that hopefully I will be able to get to. If everything goes as well as the paperwork says it should, sometime next week I ought to be getting to where I can walk normally without having to modify my treads. Because right now I have to modify the way I walk just a little bit because there's that one spot where if I put pressure there, it hurts real bad. Yes, Brian, I have been drugged up pretty much for the past 3.5 weeks.
Yes. Well, you mentioned 150 as in the hour 50 mark, but it was also at 8:50 in the central time period. So I think you've got people wondering about your.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so
Hour and 50 is what I'm talking
yeah,
about there,
at least
guys.
that's what we're gonna go with. And so yeah, I don't know if I'll be attending as a vendor or not, but the local makerspace in town does host some events where they both sell and also kind of have gatherings and such. And so I'm kind of keeping an eye on some of those. I don't know that I'll be doing anything as big as the woodworking expo for over the winter and such, but always keeping an eye out on some of that stuff. You got a question?
Yeah, about the IR module, which I have no idea. I've never used that thing. Oh, have you?
Uh, I haven't added an IR module to a gantry laser. However, I'm in discussions with the company about maybe getting one.
Says all the squares were angled on a tumbler. That sounds like it just wasn't. Maybe it wasn't on the center of the tumbler, or the rotary didn't do its job.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't change the mechanics unless something gets misaligned.
Yeah, I would say double check your. Make sure the rotary's engaged if you're using it in XCS or whatever. Make sure the rotary's engaged properly. If you're doing it in light burn, make sure your steps per rotation are set correctly, and make sure it was centered.
Here's a quick one: D1 Pro 20 or an Acer Pro 35?
The V35 or P, the new L35. I love my V35. Oh, I've got an Acer L24 over there. If it ever fired back up, I'd use it a little bit, but it DRT'd on me. So I can't really speak to long term about the Acer. It worked well for a little while, but now my P20 and my V35 jam up machines.
Yeah, I mean, I like my D1 Pro 20 watt. I think it's a very good mid-range laser. It performs well for me. I I try to keep it clean as far as the lens and whatnot. And my biggest gripe with it is their homing switches, their inductive switches. The gantry and the cabling just gets a little tight. That if you don't have everything snug down, it won't trigger the limit switch before it's kind of hitting up against the cabling. So you got to watch that. But I mean, the other thing to consider is 20 watt over 35 watt. You know, if you're doing a lot of cutting, then that 35 is definitely going to help you out some. Either one, I think, are really nice machines. So, you know, find the best deal and jump on it. I think you'd be happy with either one. So, yeah, Brian, Mark did come and talk to me a bit for both about lasers, but also about maybe coming and talking to the CNC group at some point, and that might be fun. I'd have to kind of figure out more what their group would be interested in, and I'd love to come up and just kind of check out the group sometime. It's at the Burnsville Rockler during from what I understand, during the nice months of the year. But maybe during winter it goes virtual online. So,
Yeah.
um, either way, that's kind of my local Burnsville. That's my local Rockler. It's basically just an hour away. I love going up there and such. So I'd love to come and hang out and maybe talk lasers with that group sometime.
Yeah. I've actually got another hookup on places to get with some of my gear too. I talked to the football coach at my kid's school, and he's very open to the idea of me letting them have a piece of equipment to use in an ag shop. But he said I'm going to have to come show them how to use it. So that might be something in the future for the next 6 months or so once machines start to get plentiful again. But all right, guys, if you hadn't already, like, follow, subscribe, and go check out our laser engraver community page. That is basically a bunch of dudes like us that do lasers, engraving, CNCs, whatever. You can come show off your products. You can come show off your designs. You can ask questions, troubleshoot your machines, or ask for assistance, whatever you want to do. But just make sure that you give as much as you ask for, please. So just don't be in there just spamming us with links and stuff like that. It's not really that's not what really what that's designed for. We want to try to keep it as a good safe space for everybody to be at, to where you're not getting scams and stuff like that. So if you do sign up to join the group, make sure you answer the questions. That lets me know, or Steve, or whoever happens to be approving the invitation, that lets them know that you're not a robot.
And you know, if you are a member of that group and you see something that is questionable, like I know there's a number of people that are bouncing between various laser groups, and they're trying to scam people, and we aren't always up on them right away. If you see it and you've got that information, go ahead and report that between us and a couple of the mods. We try to check those, because the last thing we want is people coming into the group and getting scammed or getting hit with just constant ads from people who aren't really contributing to the group. So so far it's been great. It's been a really good group. We appreciate everybody sharing in there, but we've had to be a little more vigilant on some of that stuff recently. So appreciate everybody else kind of helping us keep an eye on it as well.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Until next week. Maybe next week I'll have more to report. Y'all be safe.
We'll see ya.